and welcome to Mums at the Table, where we talk all things family. I probably should say we talk all things and stop there, because we cover a lot of topics here, don't we? Well, let me introduce you to our sisterhood table ladies today. I'm talking to Shona.
Hi.
Mary Ellen.
Hello.
Hello, and Fiona.
Hi.
And I'm Rachel. Well, we are talking finance today, so would you ladies say that you are good with money?
I think everyone likes to think they're good with money.
Yes, but are they?
But yeah, not sure.
Well, on our table agenda today, we are discussing finance. Do you know the value of $1, and can you confidently say you spend wisely? Well, we talked to frugalista Serina Bird, who calls herself the joyful frugalista, and has some practical tips on being prudent with your pennies. And for budgeting with babies, we're going to talk about how that goes, and a couple's underestimating what's involved when it comes to budgeting for babies. Our hot topic today: should you have a separate or joint account with your life partner? But let's start off the show with something a little more fun. Kids' parties. Pull your poppers. Now, it's always party season when you have young kids, like it is at my house, and I often find myself chatting to other mums about how they do parties. Well, in recent years, I have been looking to lower the bar, and it seems that there's a new fashion trend in parties that might suit my needs. Or would it? They call it the fiver parties, and no, you don't just invite 5 people over like I originally thought, but the idea is for guests to, rather than buy a present, gift $5 to the person you're celebrating so that they can choose their own gift, or you just sort of pool in it and buy one big gift for that person. Why are fiver parties a good idea, Fiona?
I don't know if it's a good idea. Maybe for people attending like heaps of parties, when you got
they're
kids
expensive.
that go to school and the whole class gets invited, you know, you're going to like 30 parties in a month or whatever the case is. Maybe a bit much.
Oh my God.
But
30 in a
What a
month.
day.
for the kids.
You know, she knows a lot of people.
I'm an islander. Hello. No, but I think personally it's a bit stingy.
$5 is stingy.
Stingy because I would like to think that if, you know, I was giving a present, I'd probably give a bit more than $5. I think that's more a cultural thing though.
Yeah.
Not sure that, but if, it depends on the relationship. Depends on the relationship. Sorry, Mary Ellen.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I always thought that you gave a gift that was kind of equivalent to the price of maybe the food that you're going to be eating, or like the experience that you're going to be having.
Like
That's how I've always
That's like a
calculated
wedding.
it.
That's like if you're
Kind
going
of
to
like a wedding. but
Yeah.
it's obviously
Maybe different for a party.
I thought you gave a gift because you knew the person and you were investing in them.
also personal.
No,
I'm the gift giving, you know,
You are. It's your
I'm the
love
one who
language.
loves gifts. And
You
I
do.
actually think this is a really good idea. I'm all in for gift vouchers and money and all that sort of thing, because then I can buy what I want and I don't get this truckload of rubbish.
Yeah.
So if I was doing my boys' parties again, I actually like the $5 idea.
So you would do it?
I would do it, because then the kids could donate something off, some of the money off to a charity. They could buy what they wanted or what they needed. You're not getting this carload of paper and
you know,
cards and
I guess
rubbish.
my thought around it is that you're inviting people and you're expecting that they're going to
Yes.
bring you a
But
gift.
they're
That's
going
another
to
thing.
anyway.
They're going
Some people
to
don't.
anyway, but I just think as a guest, like you want your guests because of them, not because
Yeah.
of what they're going to
No,
bring.
no.
You want them because they're
It's
gonna-
a kids' party.
Yeah.
We're talking kids'
I'm not saying you're not
party.
going to bring anything, but I just think like there's the expectation.
But it's just becoming something you have to do, whereas gift giving used to be something really exciting when
From
you
the
and I'm serious
heart
when
and
you
surprise.
embrace that person and think about what they might like. To me, I loved gift giving for that reason, and I feel like this is just becoming I've got to give a gift, here's $5. Like it's just a righto onto the
Yeah, but
next thing.
hold on. A
It's
few
not
weeks
personal.
ago, we were talking about these mothers who were going over the top with parties and bringing, you know, great big presents and everything else. So, how are we going to find a happy medium? We've got the $5, which you guys are saying is a bit Scroogey, and then we've just been.
I have no problem if you're hosting it. If you want to host a fiver party, me myself personally for my own children probably wouldn't be asking people to bring $5.
What happened to it's the thought that counts?
Yes. what happened to
Consumerism
that?
happens, capitalism.
Days of come as you
How
are.
many years ago are you living that?
Oh, hey, I'm living in my day and age. The thought should count, or hopefully. Well, tell us what you do for kids' parties in your household. Share your tips with us on our Mums at the Table Facebook page. Well, now here's someone who has no trouble preparing for a party. Gia, Olive and Moses are giving a shout out to Meat Free Mondays and are showing us how to marinate tofu.
What are we making? We are actually making marinated tofu. We're making marinated tofu. Can you say that? Marinated tofu.
Marinated tofu.
Oh, we're making marinated tofu because I find that the tofu you get at the supermarket is actually really expensive. And so I found a way we can marinate it. Actually, my husband found a way that we can marinate tofu like on a Sunday and have it in the fridge during the week. And we throw it in our dishes and the kids can just eat it. They love it. Even in their school lunchbox, you could just put the marinated tofu. It is so tasty and so simple to make. And it only takes 20 minutes to marinate. Most things need to be overnight. So what we're going to put in it is soy sauce. So soy sauce, so you've got your tofu all chopped up in cubes. And we have apple cider vinegar, soy sauce, a little bit of maple syrup, and we have garlic powder, that's it. Some garlic powder, and we're going to mix it in. Can you mix it through, Momo?
Yeah. I'm eating a plum.
You are eating a plum. So we mix it through and some water. There we go. Now we're right. We're good to go now. So we'll mix it through. So see that, it's all mixed through. Now I would put that in the fridge maybe for 20 minutes. As you can see, the tofu actually takes on the colour. Tofu is just one of those foods that's really bland, but once you put, no matter what flavour you put around it, it's going to absorb that flavour. Actually, this tofu with this marinade tastes very meaty. And so I've got my fry pan ready to go because I use a big one because I actually double my recipes so that I've got heaps in the fridge. And I've got my fry pan and I'll just use a straining type of ladle or whatever you've got so that you just put the tofu inside. You fry the tofu without the juice in it. And then we'll use the juice later. Yeah, can you put it in there for me? So I'm straining it, throwing it in. So let it cook out until it gets a really nice colour. So as you can see, I've actually let it cook for about 5 minutes. Then what we do is we throw the actual marinade in there and that'll cook through. And I've got some arrowroot powder, but you can use arrowroot or cornstarch or corn flour. Yeah, we're going to sprinkle the arrowroot. Now, what the arrowroot is going to do, it's going to thicken the sauce and make it sticky. Once it's sticky and thickened and it's cooked out, the tofu is ready. And you can put it in the fridge and keep it in the fridge for a few days, but it won't last. Like, we throw it on our rice dishes, we throw it, like, we just eat it plain as it is. It's delicious. And so that way your kids are getting like a good, healthy protein, a clean protein. And you've marinated yourself, so it's not going to cost you so much money. Oh, that looks amazing. Oh, so it's gotten a little sticky, but we're going to have to let it cool down just a little before. Okay, there you have it. Your marinated tofu. Yum.
According to financial guru Scott Pape, it costs around $10,000 to have a baby. And finder.com.au says that nearly 50% of parents in 2013 wanted to have more savings before having kids. Well, it begs the question, why are we all still having kids? But maybe the question should be, why are we not preparing better? Now, were you financially prepared, Fiona, when you had kids? Because, you know, you started out with twins.
Twins, yeah, we had twins. But even the fact of having children was a surprise to us because we weren't planning that. Through God's mercy and His grace and blessings upon us as a couple, we were okay financially with the twins. The financial strain started coming when we had baby 3. And so that's when you start tightening up the purse strings. Okay. But I think in terms of planning, like, I find as a Christian, God always provides.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what, God provides. And you live within your means and you learn to as a mum as well, you know.
But does that mean you shouldn't plan, though?
I'm not saying you don't plan.
Plan the kids or plan the money?
Look, I'm in that category that we didn't plan anything. So
And it's really worked out for you.
God, where you at?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I think I credit to people who can plan for these things, but there's deeper things going on, as in some people save for children and they can't have children.
Yeah.
So there's bigger concerns than that. So, and then you got other issues. So,
Do you feel like you overspent at all when your kids came along, Shona, on anything for them?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
We had everything, you know, because our kids were a long time. There's a long gap between grandparents, children.
Yep, okay.
Right, so there's a decent gap. So they were a bit spoiled. But I actually think you need to budget for school times.
Okay.
The small children, it was okay. You know, you can go off to Kmart and you can buy reasonably cheap clothes and things like that. It's once they hit school.
Okay.
And you've got school fees and you've got textbooks and you've got shoes.
And they want all the toys that all the other kids have in the class, and they have to go to birthday parties.
Birthday parties. But also because mine were so close together, there was no handing things down. They were both the same size.
Yeah.
So I had to buy 2 of everything. So it got very costly once we hit school.
I so can understand what you're saying, because right now I'm looking for schools and I'm thinking, oh, we need to start budgeting for school fees because we want to put them in certain schools.
But did that mindset ever cross you before having kids at all? Like, did you think, okay, I know we want kids in the future, we probably should start putting something away?
No.
Because there's a lot of big ticket items that you have to buy
We
when
were
those
saving
kids are young.
for travelling. We were saving for building a portfolio of houses.
I think that's the way most people sort of approach it. They're like, you know what, we'll have kids and it'll just work itself out. Is there anything wrong with that mentality, though?
I suppose it depends what you want in life. No, I don't have any regrets because, like Fiona, I'm grateful that God blessed us with children. But yeah, no, I have no regrets in having children. Again, I just wish we'd understood how much it was going to cost us once they got to school.
Right.
What was the biggest surprise financially for all of you when you did have kids? One thing that was like, oh my goodness, I didn't see this coming. Or was it just everything?
I was surprised at how much of nice stuff I wanted, because normally I would have just gone, let's get it second hand or whatever. But when I had my first daughter and I was like, wow, we don't know if we're going to be able to have any more. I'm going to sort of spend up on her. And the poor other two just got, you know,
Dragged along.
See,
I know that shocked me, my want for her to have all this amazing stuff. And I look back now and I'm like, where did that come from? Like, what built up inside me to say I want the best for her? And I know what it is, but at the same time, I'm like, I didn't need to go overboard like I did. So, well, if you want to be in a good place to start when you have kids, moneysmart.gov has some great information on financially preparing for a baby. Now, we want to take a few steps back from budgeting for a baby to setting up an account for you and your partner. The millennial generation may be happy to walk down the aisle and say, I do, but research shows more and more are saying, I don't, when it comes to a joint account. Somebody help me understand the benefits of a separate account, because I don't get it.
Don't look at me, I'm a joint accountant.
Well, my parents have separate accounts, and they always have. And my parents are like 60s, right? Yeah. So not many 60-year-olds have that. And I think for them it was always just a practical thing. So my dad had a first marriage, and then he came into my mum's marriage and things. And they never have to discuss, oh, honey, I'm gonna buy some, clothes for the kids, or I'm gonna do this, because it's just their own money. And so, like, mum would pay for, clothes for me and my 2 sisters, and my dad would pay for the mortgage or the electricity.
Okay,
and that kind of worked.
They teamed up to say this is where our money, even though it's in these 2 accounts, this is where our money is going.
Yeah.
There was never a that's your money, that's my money thing, or?
I mean, there was in a sense, because it is their money, but they were always willing to compromise and, talk about it. But again, there was never any arguments over, but why did you spend that? Why did you spend that? There was more arguments of who's going to pay for this? But so I guess there's going to be arguments regardless of what you do.
Because it's around the conversation.
Yeah.
I just want to ask a quick question, because it was focused on millennials.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Like, if you were to, say, get married in the next 12 months or so, would you go down the path of having separate bank accounts?
I think I would do both. I think I'd have a separate account for, like, my personal things, and I'd have a joint account for all the major expenses.
Yeah. Why? Why wouldn't you take it from one joint account?
I don't really know. I'd always assumed that would be what I did, but I suppose just not having to explain, oh, I bought a dress for $100. You don't have to justify all those little purchases. You just want to make for yourself.
Yeah.
Brenton and I, when we got married, we kept our own personal accounts, but then as a couple, we had a joint savings account and an everyday saver account. And I think it just depends on the couple, whatever works for you and your dynamics. It wasn't to do with trust or anything like that. It was more about financial freedom, independence, still, I guess, holding on to, well, I'm making this amount of money, I'm going to do this. But we never discussed, like, well, that's mine. The way I see it, as long as his money's mine and mine is mine as well.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Good.
Let me pose this scenario to you. Your husband's working, you've got a stay-at-home mum looking after a young baby. what should they be doing? Because that's been similar to
Managing
my
the money.
experience.
That's what they should be doing. Managing the
And
money.
look, to be quite honest, I struggled with that because I stayed at home until the boys were quite a lot older, you know, quite a way into primary school, and I felt guilty spending
Did you?
money. Yes, because I
Not
was...
a problem for me.
Look, I didn't... There's just a part of me that always felt like, not that it was his money,
Yeah.
but that I was not necessarily contributing financially. I was contributing as a person, but not financially. And because I've always been very financial myself,
Yes.
I did struggle with that.
Did you feel like you had less value because
No,
of
no, no,
that?
no, no. I
Okay.
just, I wasn't contributing in a financial capacity, and I had always looked after myself, always contributed financially. So I did feel
Suddenly you were
awkward.
dependent.
Yeah, I
and it
was dependent.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's so important as women in this day and age to keep some money aside for
Yeah.
yourself.
Well, there's like
because
financial abuse.
There's financial
right?
abuse, there's situations,
yeah.
and it's just smart. And in incidences where your husband's out of money, well, don't worry, babe, I got you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's...
But you can do that together. You can have an account that's separate away from your joint account. You know, there are ways to get around it. I don't have a problem because Gary was always, my money, you know, whatever I've earned is our money.
Yeah.
There's no my money
Yeah.
that was just always
So you
our
don't
money.
feel guilty if you go and buy something. Would you then tell them you've gone and bought something worth that much money?
No.
So is
yeah.
this not a problem for the marriage being open though? Like,
But it's not an issue of like joint accounts or separate accounts really at the end of the day. It's an issue of mindset.
but I think for some
communication.
people it is they want to have theirs to spend and not tell the
Yeah,
other person. And to
I
me,
guess.
that's where I start to, like, red flags come up for me and I'm going, oh, is that an issue? Like, is that maybe that's more telling of the marriage, maybe. I don't know. But for me, joint account is really important.
Yeah.
We're a team. This is what we pull together for our family. We talk about stuff.
I think if it's big ticket stuff, you have the discussion. Like if
Yeah.
you're going out to buy a new fridge or a boat or a
Yeah.
car or whatever,
Yeah.
you have the discussion. But if it's a $50 pair of shoes, I'm out there.
Yeah.
Well, if you're still arguing with your partner, maybe these life tips with Lisa will help you out. Have a look.
Hello, thanks for joining us. Today we're talking about a topic very dear to your heart, I would imagine, as it is to myself as well. How do we find true success in life? And to tell us more, well-qualified success coach Lisa Stevenson. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Now, it is in your title, so success has obviously been part of your story.
It is.
As a business builder yourself, business owner, how do you carve a path of success?
Yeah. So I'd like to make it sound really glamorous.
Yep.
But one of the things that creates success, and I've worked with the most incredible people around the world, whether they're elite athletes or entrepreneurs, is that they are prepared to do the work. And I'm not just talking about the long hours and the compromises, but the work on themselves. So I think a really great question is, am I prepared to do what's required?
Yeah.
You know, to get to the very best version of me, whatever that might mean for you.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily compromise on your personal values necessarily when you talk about that, is it? It's kind of putting in the hours and making strategic decisions.
Yeah, it's deciding what am I prepared to give up or miss out on, and also being really clear about why I'm doing it, so what I'm gaining. So I'll get more experience or I'll create a new really valuable connection in my network.
Yeah.
So it's all really important, and putting yourself out there and being courageous really matters a lot.
And for a stay-at-home mum who might be listening, sometimes that idea of success can seem very far off and elusive, and for somebody else who doesn't have kids and has more free time.
Yeah.
We know that's not the case though. So how do you're a mum.
Oh,
How did you make it
absolutely.
work?
Yeah. I think the first thing is we have to let go of what we think success is. You know, success is really personal. You know, my version of success might be a 5-minute walk this morning and yours was doing 10K.
Yeah.
Right? So it's really, really personal. So it doesn't matter who we are or what we do. And this applies to our children as well. You know, what does a successful day look like for them?
Yeah.
And if you're that mum, that beautiful mum who's at home and you're being dedicated to your children, then how do you just work on being the best version of you in that?
Well, and that's a huge mark of success too, being able to raise those kids too, I think.
We don't want to mess them up.
Yeah,
do we?
yeah. tread carefully.
That's right.
Yeah,
right.
but I think resilience also is a big thing too, because you're going to get knockbacks when you do the work as well.
You do. And so we mentioned earlier a little bit about, we talked about being courageous. I think being resilient is a really important marker of success. So sometimes we think about things like being happy, and when I get there, I'll be happy, and I'll feel successful when I get there. And it really concerns me when people talk like that, because we never really quite get there.
Right.
And what about living in the present and being in the now? Being grateful for what I have now and working really hard for what I have now.
Yeah.
And the resilience piece means, so I'm giving myself permission to mess up, to fail, to not get it right all the time.
Because we are going to.
All the time. And in fact, when we're messing up, we're growing muscle memory and we're learning new skills. So if I'm not failing sometimes, I'm probably not stretching.
Yeah, that's right, Lisa. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for watching. You can find more from Lisa on her website, and also follow us on our socials as well. Mums at the Table.
Grow your cash, be savvy with your money and live abundantly. These are the words of the joyful frugalista Serina Bird. Now, she's gone from a single mum to a millionaire and says that pinching her pennies makes her proud and happy. Serina, welcome to Mums at the Table.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
I'm glad you're here. I've got to start by asking this question though. What are the downsides to being a happy, frugal woman?
Well, not everyone quite gets it, really.
Yeah.
And, some people really expect you to be mean and nasty and cheap.
Do they?
There's kind of this, people will tell you, oh, but I know someone, they're really frugal, and, when they go to a hotel, they steal the towels and they steal, the sugar sachets and things like that. And, they think of that as frugal.
So people look at you differently when you say you're frugal?
Well, I don't do those things. That's just dishonest.
Yeah.
So what is
That's
frugal?
just wrong. Well, I think frugal is really appreciating the abundance that you have, and it's really learning to appreciate what you have. We're so blessed. I feel so blessed with my life, with what I have, and I really like to, appreciate and celebrate that. And, we're talking before about happiness and what makes us happy. That is something, appreciating the joy of where I am right now is already halfway there. Rather than thinking I need a bigger car, a bigger house, a better husband, pretty happy with the husband. Disclaimer. Newlyweds. Different, better kids or better clothes. I want to be happy right now with what I have. And so once you start with that, you realise it's not actually a lot of material things you need. Very blessed to live in Australia.
So going back to being frugal, you talk about becoming a billionaire.
Yes.
What are some tips that everyday mums watching or parents can take to becoming a billionaire by living a frugal life?
I must say I haven't quite nailed the billionaire.
But it's a goal.
Billionaire thing. But, but if we're talking billionaire, we're talking big picture, I think the first thing is to become financially aware.
Okay.
Is to really, to build your financial literacy. So start reading. Your local library is a really good place to do that. There's magazines like Money Magazine and
they're
others.
free.
And they're free at your local library. And there are some great case studies of women who've chosen not to go out to work. They're in the home, they're supporting their husband, but they've become really financially literate. And you were talking before about women being, money managers. And that's really important. You can, in fact, do that.
So I was kind of curious. I think in your book, do you talk about on your website? Sorry, you have all these recipes and things you can make really cheap and things like that. I think that's fantastic. But for me, I look at that and I'm like, but I didn't have the time to do this. And often I think being frugal takes a lot more time than just paying the money to buy the yogurt at the supermarket instead of making it yourself. So where do you find the time? Like busy mums, where can they find that time? Is it even possible?
Look, it is possible, and it is about priorities. And I will be honest and say that cooking from scratch does take time.
Yeah.
But that's also a life lesson you're giving to your children too about the value of cooking. And, I know my boys surprisingly like it when I'm home cooking. There's something, a special vibe for them that they wouldn't necessarily have. Now, I do work full time as well, so I'm not always in the kitchen cooking, but it is important. But, if you have the sort of lifestyle where, you're out standing in a supermarket queue every night, because you've forgotten to buy the ingredients, you're probably spending quite a lot of time anyway.
True.
So, you know, it's about, you know, how your lifestyle is and making the time for things that are important.
So just because you're frugal, does that mean that you don't go and eat out? You don't enjoy the finer things in life? You know, you don't go to the nice restaurants? So how do you get around that?
Oh, no, I go out. And it is a difficult thing to navigate too, because often, you know, if you've got friends who live quite luxuriously, it's quite hard to manage. I'm very blessed that I now have a lot of friends who share similar values. So they don't put expectations on me to go out for very expensive things. And I usually am able to have that money conversation. But I do have a number of tips in my book about how you can go out and get really good value for money. One is to get a voucher, like an entertainment book. They're quite good. And the vouchers in there are actually quite
And you
genuine.
think it's worth buying the book to get those vouchers?
Yeah, I do. So the book costs, depending where you are, between $60 and I think $75. And it supports a charity or a cause. So, you know, 20% of that value will go to something. So in a sense, you're already, you know, contributing. And then a lot of the dining deals are about 25% off. So for me, I find about 2 meals out, well, that kind of covers the book. So if you've got a good anniversary meal coming up or something that's quite special, or a family holiday and you want a good accommodation deal, that pretty much nails it.
Oh, well, you and I are going in halves on one of those books.
Glad.
That's frugal.
You mentioned your boys before. How do you sell the idea of being frugal to them when they're possibly going to school with kids who are doing
Yeah,
things
that's
differently?
It is.
And
it
getting
is.
other, you know, things that a less frugal life.
Yeah, well, they're used to me. So, you know, when I do occasionally take them to buy things they want, they go, wow, Mum, that's so generous of you.
I love that. That's so good.
Because they don't get that often.
Yeah, often.
They don't get it. So it is when I do it, it's a special treat.
It's not just because they brush their teeth or...
Yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, I think sometimes as parents, there's a tendency to give our children stuff because we want to buy their love. And really,
we feel guilty.
Or you feel guilty because you're working or you've been busy, so you buy them stuff. You know, what they actually want is time with you. They want you to
That's
listen
probably
to
where
them.
parents really struggle, time factor, because parents are so busy.
Yeah.
That is a hard area.
And, you know, it is hard. We're, you know, working longer hours on average. And, you know, I'm certainly not a perfect parent by any stretch. But, you know, if they've got a story to tell you from their day at school, that's what they want more than the toys.
Yeah, I love how you've sort of prioritised and you sort of affirm that prioritisation of time with your kids, and you can be frugal at the same time and they don't hate you for it.
Well, you know, the kids.
Being frugal, though, just as a question, I sort of picture you have money accumulating in your account and just keeps growing and growing and growing, and that's great. But at the same time, I always see money as being like a means to an end. Like, what's the purpose of saving up great amounts of money if you're not actually going to do things with it? So I guess that's my question. Like, what's your intention behind being frugal, like, at the end of the day?
Well, I'm providing for my family.
I love that you're providing for your family, and I think that's like the key essence of it, and that, you know, that's where our focus should be. Look, we've actually got some of your books to give away that we actually want to share with everyone. So maybe there's something here that Serina said that's piqued your interest and you want to know more. Well, today we're giving away 5 of her books, The Joyful Frugalista. To get your free copy, get in quick. Write to us at hello@mumsathetable.com. First in wins the prize. Thank you so much for joining us today, Serina. We appreciate it. Thank you, ladies. Always a pleasure, never a chore. We will be back next week with more great topics. We'll see you then. Bye for now.